All right, what is up, everybody? And good morning, and welcome to the Touchdown Talk with me, Chris, and my awesome co-host, Mr. Pablo Martinez. Pablo, how the hell are you, brother? How are you in week 14?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 14. I'm doing awesome. This is a fantastic day. Week 14, last week of our regular season for fantasy football. And I'm super excited to break down our matchups of this week as we look ahead of the playoffs that start just next week, man. Playoff season is upon us.
That's it. Like, I can't even believe it. Like, it feels like we just started doing this show a couple weeks ago. Well, at least for Radio Garden State listeners, we only came on the air a couple weeks ago. But you and I have been doing this show since we started the actual, since the start of the season. And this is like our third year doing the show together, or fourth year.
Something
Um,
like that. Yeah.
so yeah, it's been quite an interesting season so far in both leagues. And guys, if this is your first time actually tuning in to the Touchdown Talk, just to give you a lowdown on what Pablo and I do each and every week, is on top of answering any of your fantasy football questions. And if you have them, feel free to drop them in the chat if you're watching us live on YouTube or on Facebook. If you are listening in on Radio Garden State, well, then you can also just head over to Radio Garden State Facebook page and drop us a question there. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. But what Pablo and I do is we go through our two respective leagues that we are both members of, and Pablo is even co-commissioner of one of them. But we look at the Dirt Invitational each and every week, and the LOEMP League, which is known as the League of Extraordinarily Mediocre Peoples, and both 12-team leagues. And I think Dirt is full PPR or half
Dirt is half
PPR. Half
PPR,
PPR.
and LOEMP is full PPR.
There you go. I get it wrong. I get it confused every week, but but it's been great. And so what we do is we analyze each matchup in each league, and Pablo and I simply pick who we think is going to win and lose in each matchup, but all the while talking about different lineups, different players along the way, looking at some of those difference makers that can maybe make or break someone's game. And because we are in week 14 of fantasy football action here, this is it. For many people in the league, this is a make or break week for them, for sure. It's win and you're in, or you're done for the season. And in the Dirt Invitational, we actually do have a loser's bracket, consolation prize of the poop trophy. So last place in that league gets a poop trophy. So it's like what the bottom four kind of vie for contention of that, right?
That's actually the part that I think I'm most excited about personally this week is to look at that bottom bracket because it's red hot and nobody wants that trophy. So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, and Smitty, the Smitty, we see him checking in on YouTube. We see you. He's asking Jonnu or Kelsey. Great question. I personally would go with Jonnu. I think he's been red hot. Tua's been really connected with him, and I've been starting him now the last I think 3 or 4 weeks, and he's been clutch for me in a few matchups. So I'm all in on Jonnu right now, especially going into playoffs.
Same. Yeah, crazy times to consider benching Kelsey over anyone, but
I
that's
know.
it. Jonnu's been
He's
been the main target on Miami, and Kelsey has still yet to pick up some steam. I'm sure he will. They're doing great. They're just cruising towards the playoffs. They'll turn it on. They'll turn the Jets on later. But for this week, I would go Jonnu as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, for anybody watching us on the internet, if you guys are on Facebook or YouTube, you can also, because we do broadcast this show live, we live stream it out on Radio Garden State. That's our broadcasting partner here. And so check out Radio Garden State. You could listen to them right now through the Odyssey app or through TuneIn, or you can go directly to radiogardenstate.com and listen through the browser as well. Because maybe if you're out and about, you're on the go, you can only listen for a little bit and you got to get into the car. Well, tune into Odyssey or TuneIn app. I prefer Odyssey app. It's a better listening experience and ties right in with your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So little plug there for our broadcasting partners at Radio Garden State. So, all right, guys, let's get down to it. So Pablo, you want to kick things off here? I think we were talking about starting with the LOEMP League.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's kick off with the LOEMP League. We have a 12-team league here where 6 teams who are at the top of the standing have all pretty much locked in their playoff participation for this season, mathematically, we'll see that there are only 4 teams that are actually locked in for Yahoo's consideration.
Yeah.
There's a giant point spread between the 6th team, the 5th and 6th team, and the teams that come behind them. So there's no realistic possibility that in 1 week anyone's going to make up a 200-point difference.
Mm-hmm.
So from my perspective, I think those top 6 are locked in, and they're just playing for seed this week, which
Right.
is very exciting too, because the bye weeks are wide open.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the other thing, is just so everybody knows who's listening, like, even if you don't make the playoffs here in this league, so League of Extraordinary Mediocre People, we don't have a Sacco award or anything like that. We don't have a last place losers prize, so to speak. So nothing really happens yet. It is coming though. We've been talking about it. It's happening at some point, probably next season. But we do draft where we finish. So it's still worth playing, because it's all about now maybe getting that good draft position for next season in the league. And we also do keepers in this league too.
That's right. Yeah, it's never too late to pick up a last-minute player that you want to keep for next season. So there's always something to play for, even if you're not in the playoffs.
That's right. Exactly. So don't give up. Never surrender. All right, so let's look at it. So right now, our top seeded teams, the ones that have locked in a playoff spot at the moment, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers sitting at 9-4, locking in a number 1 spot. Suck My Dicka sitting in at number 2. Yoda Best Team, my team, has clinched a playoff spot at number 3. Yes. Number 4, we got Keith's Cool Team in there, also at 8-5. Both me and Keith's Cool Team are 8-5. And then in 5th place right now, Shardy McDennis at 7-6, and Obi-Wan Mahomey sitting in at 7-6 in the 6th spot. Neither one, 5 and 6, have not been a lock yet. So right on the bubble are you, my friend. All Out of Love, right on the bubble there. CD's Nuts at 6 and 7. Both you guys are sitting at 6 and 7. And then we got It's Over Johnny at 5 and 8. Mind Your Magic at 5 and 8. Absolute Trash at 5 and 8. And it takes two at a tango at 3 and 10. Who, at this point, I'd say those bottom 3 probably all mathematically eliminated. I'd venture to say at this point.
Yeah, those bottom four for sure. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, even the 7th and 8th seed, I don't really expect to see a realistic chance to outscore Obi-Wan Mahomey, for example, by 200 points. Like, even if Mahomey loses and All Out of Love wins, he still has almost a 200-point difference in his favor. So it would be really, really crazy to see that be that distance be overtaken. But you never know. You can't rule anything out. We always have to keep trying as if there was a chance.
Absolutely.
But I'm pretty sure these top 6 are locked in pretty good. And I think here the most exciting piece that we get to look at in this league this week is those top 3 spots, because those top 3 teams are fighting to try to get a bye in week 15 and go directly into the top 4 of the season. And that's one of those teams is yours, my friend.
Yeah,
I think you have a realistic chance to be able to get a win this week, and with a little bit of fortune on your side, hope that one of the other 2 teams doesn't get a win, and that's how you get into the semis.
Yeah, I am hoping. So normally how we do is we do pick a touchdown talk game of the week here, which is where we start. So Pablo, what do you think is this week's game of the week here in the touchdown in the League of Extraordinarily Mediocre People? What are you looking at?
So I think the game of the week, from my perspective, is going to be your game, Chris.
Okay.
Your game with Shardy McDennis, because your game is the one who has the strongest possibilities to overtake one of the top 2.
Okay.
And Shardy McDennis is not an easy team to defeat. The other important piece for this league is that we actually have a prize for the team who ends up with the most points on the season. And this is the final week for this.
Yes,
so
good call.
This week will determine which team ends up with that prize that we have for the team that ends up with the most points on the season, currently led by Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with 2,172 points, but closely followed by Yoda Best Team, who's about 35 points behind. So 35 points, definitely something that you can make up for in 1 week. No problem.
That is what I am hoping for. So, all right, guys. So let's look at that. So we'll do the official Touchdown Talk game of the week. Is my team Yoda Best Team sitting in number 3 versus Shardy McDennis sitting in number 5 at 7-6. And right now, the projections are very heavily in Shardy McDennis's favor. He's got a very strong team. He has all season, which is why for a little bit there, he was the number 1 point leader in the league for quite some time. He held that title. And then my brother's team, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, slipped in there. But I've been quietly creeping up. But still, he's been a very formidable opponent for many, many teams in the league. And I got to tell you, I am sweating this week already because, Detroit went. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown on my team, and I also had Detroit's defense on my team. And that game was a fun game to watch for sure. But from a fantasy perspective, I only got 1 point out of Detroit's defense there, and Amon-Ra St. Brown did not have a giant night. He didn't really finish with fantasy, at fantasy projected expectations. 5 receptions, 43 yards, 10 rushing yards, no touchdowns.
No, yeah, it was a great game to watch, but for fantasy purposes, your 2 selections there, the Detroit defense and Amon-Ra St. Brown, didn't really necessarily do you any great favors on Thursday night, but there's still plenty of football ahead. So obviously you've got a lot of room to make up for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm hoping to, we got just to look at our quarterbacks I got Baker Mayfield rolling. He's got Joe Burrow going, and, Joe Burrow and the Bengals have been, from a fantasy point of view, absolutely outstanding. They're a team that puts up so many points, and yet where they are actually in real life record wise is nuts to me that they've lost as many games as they've putting up as many points as they had. But for a fantasy perspective, it's good. He's rolling with Joe Burrow. I have Jamar Chase going. So hopefully I am the benefactor from a high scoring game in that way, but almost kind of would almost cancel each other out in a bit if he's got Burrow and I got Chase. So those points may actually wind up, I think, helping, but also not really doing too much on either side. I'm hopefully Baker is, I'm praying for a good Baker this weekend. I know he got a little banged up last week, and he was wearing a boot at the end of the game. They're saying he's good to go. He is going into Vegas, but Vegas actually has been a tough team over these last couple weeks, man. Like, they've been keeping it close where you thought some teams are going to come in and completely eviscerate them. They've been keeping it pretty tight and really kind of shutting teams down. Unbelievably. So, it's a team where even though they are not great, they've been actually playing pretty strong football because I think guys are still playing for contracts on that team, whether they're moving on to other teams or they're trying to vie for a contract to stay on the Raiders. They are playing teams pretty tough right now.
They are, and Tampa Bay, I think, is still definitely trying to put up as good of a season as they can. Their playoff opportunities are still right there, present for them. They're a 6-6 team, but it's crazy that they're right behind the Falcons at the moment, who are also 6-6. So they definitely have everything in their hand to be able to get into the playoffs, and I'm sure that's what they're going to try to do this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think that matchup actually will be a matchup where Baker will actually do very well. So I'm confident that at least that on your side will be able to help you against that Joe Burrow quarterback head-to-head that you have here with Shardy McDennis.
Yeah, I am hoping. I am definitely hoping. And then looking down the rest of our lineups here, he's rolling Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Juwan Jennings, and on the rest of mine, I've got. I am going right now. I did put in Westbrook.
Yeah.
I know my brother. We've been talking about. His name's come up quite a few times over the last couple of weeks. He has been a touchdown maker. Doesn't get a lot of passes, but he scores touchdowns. So I'm going with them. They're going into Jacksonville, and we know what kind of team Jacksonville's been. So I'm feeling like he might be a good guy to be starting this week. I don't know. I'm in a little going back and forth because on my bench, I did bench Malik Neighbors because it's not looking like he's gonna play, even though he is saying right now he's questionable. Everything coming out of the Giants side of the camp sounds like they're gonna shut him down. So I did put him on the bench, and I'm also not a big fan of the Giants going with starting Drew Lock, who's just awful. But I do have NVS on the bench, and he is going into the Giants, and so I am actually going back and forth a little bit on if I should be putting in MVS or if I should stay with Westbrook. Ike.
Yeah. I can't blame you for debating that one, but
I'm debating.
This Westbrook kid has been one of those. Like, I actually haven't looked it up myself, but I'd be interested to see what the Vegas odds are for him to get another touchdown this week, because your brother was saying on the show last week, touchdowns are not a guarantee. You can't count on touchdowns, but this guy's defying those odds for sure. Every single week. Last week he got 2. So going against a soft Jacksonville team, I would definitely be very interested in having him in my lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the he's been pretty good the last few weeks. I've started him and he's put up points because he scores touchdowns. And so I'm feeling pretty okay with this. So I think that's what I think I'm going there. So we got a question by the Smitty again, and he's asking, should I be starting? He's asking DK Metcalf or Cooper Kupp.
All right, good question.
That is a really good question.
It is. Last week we had a very, very disappointing outing from Cooper Kupp. It was a tough game for LA, and Cooper Kupp was not necessarily putting up a production that would make any fantasy manager happy with what he got. So I can't blame you for thinking about benching him this week. And DK Metcalf is actually he's been doing very well, and he's got a favorable matchup. So I'm not sure what you think here, Chris, but I would maybe lean on leaving Kupp out if I could, and DK would be an option that would let you do that.
I mean, he was cleared to play yesterday because I know there was a little bit of it was a potential shoulder, but he seems to be fine. He's cleared to play. I think I would be wrong. I think I would roll with DK Metcalf this week over Kupp. That's kind of where I'm feeling. I think right now. I mean, obviously, it might have to be a gut check as you get into Sunday. But right now, the day before, I think Kupp. I like it. Because I think Gino, Gino's been him and DK have a good connection right now, and I like it.
Yeah, and they've been doing well. They've had, DK hasn't been outstanding, but he's been pretty consistent.
He's been solid. He's been very consistent. I mean, in the last couple games, he's gotten last week against the Jets, he did 10 points. Arizona 9, but San Fran 14. Going back to week 7, he got 19 points. Week 4, 15. Week 3, 21. I mean, he started off the year hot in New England with 29 points. Yeah, I think I'd feel good with him right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, same here.
All right. So, just looking down the rest, is there anything else that really stands out to you in this matchup before we put our pick in and move on?
So like we were saying earlier, Shardy McDennis has an outstanding team. He has a super strong team, putting up a lot of points. He's only 5 points behind you in the point total for the season. So he too is in the run to end up as our point leader on the year. His team is great, but looking over on your side, your team has a lot of explosive potential. We were talking about Jonnu earlier. You have him locked into your tight end spot.
Yeah.
I also like that you've got Jameis Winston and Njoku as a stack on your team as well. So I really like what your options are here. I just wanted to call out that double tight end situation that you've got going on, along with Winston, who's a very, very volatile player. I'm sure we're all aware, Winston can be that guy that can give you a giant fantasy performance, but can also get himself benched if he throws too many of those pick sixes in the same game. So I do like the odds. If I had Winston, I would 100% be rolling him out as well.
I mean, last week Winston gave me 53 points.
Yeah.
He passed for almost 500 yards last. Now, he did have 3 INTs, but he still passed for 5 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. So, going into Pittsburgh, as we know, Pittsburgh's not an easy team, and this is a good rivalry matchup too. So I don't expect a high scoring game. I don't think. I think it's gonna be a tough game, but I believe in Jameis Winston. I believe in Jameis Winston. Let's go.
You got to believe.
Gotta believe.
I would roll him out until it doesn't work out. I 100% would also keep him in my lineup until one day it just backfires.
Right, exactly. So, you got to roll the dice. I'm rolling the dice. I'm just going to ride the wave here.
For sure. Well, good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you.
For the sake of picks here, I'm going to pick Shardy McDennis.
Yep.
We didn't really go over our picks real quick. Our week last week, I got 9 out of 12 correct. You got 8 out of 12 correct. That put me a little bit closer to you in our overall totals for the season. You have 89 correct picks on the season, and I have 88.
All right. So not too much separating us there, man.
No, you and I both are coming neck and neck to the end of the year here with our picks. And in this one here, I'm pretty sure I know which way you're going to lean, but I'm going to go with Shardy McDennis.
All right. Shardy McDennis. You know what? And I don't disagree with you, because if I wasn't the owner of this team, I would probably be going that way as well. But because this is my team, I, of course, will not pick against myself. I think that's bad juju. I need all the good vibes I can get. Let's go. Let me punch my ticket here and get in there. So I'm happy to be locked up the spot. Now let's see if I can get the bye week. So, all right. So that is my official pick. You're the best team, and you have chosen Shardy McDennis in our touchdown talk game of the week. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the rest of the matchups here in this league. Let's go. Number 1 versus number 8. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. My brother's team, Kev, who's also the commissioner, and CD's Nuts, Matt Dunn's team at 6-7. So we were talking before about some of these teams that are very close, 6-7. Dunn, a win here for Dunn wouldn't necessarily get him into the playoffs, though, right? I mean, am I correct in saying that? Or would this be a win and some help?
No, it would be a win, but too much help. If CD's Nuts were to win, he would get to 7-7, and there's a chance that Shardy McDennis, as we were looking at earlier, could lose, and he would also go to 7-7. But Shardy McDennis currently has 500 points more than CD's Nuts, so it's not realistic to expect that kind of point difference to be offset in one week of fantasy football. So I do believe that, unfortunately for Dunn, that despite him having a chance to get a win this week, it's the playoffs are out of reach at the moment.
Right. But once again, we still talked about especially in this league, winning and still wanting to win, because we do draft where we finish in this league. So you want to keep playing, you want to keep winning to try to now play for that prime draft spot. So that way next year you can get ahead. And on top of that, we do have keepers in this league. So, this is another good way to decide maybe who your keeper is, or pick someone up on waiver wire that somebody may drop, or so on and so forth. So this is there's still a bit to play for in that sense of everything. So, all right, so let's take a look at this. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and CD's Nuts both starting quarterbacks. Mighty Morphin starting Russell Wilson, who is really, man, talk about a player who everybody, including myself, I thought was washed. And he has just been great from, in real life play, but also from fantasy. He's actually been pretty solid. And going against Matthew Stafford, who is, been okay. I'd say, like, from a fantasy perspective, he's had some really good games, and other games he's kind of put up some duds. He is going into Buffalo, though. They are playing Buffalo, and that's going to be a tough matchup. And we were talking, too, Pittsburgh's going into Cleveland, also not going to be an easy matchup. I think, especially that the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game is going to be interesting for sure. But looking at the rest of this, and we were talking about Cooper Kupp. My brother's rolling with Cooper Kupp. And we got on this side, we got Robinson, Demarcus Robinson from the Rams, CeeDee Lamb, who's questionable at the moment, Jordan Addison, Then we look at Jamal Williams, who already went, and I had Jamal Williams on my bench actually on the other league, so I'm like, oh, I should have started him. DJ Moore, and then Barkley, who's been really a big plus for my brother, because I mean he's just having an amazing season. But anything else standing out to you with this matchup there, Pablo?
Not necessarily. I like the pickup that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers did here with Isaac Guerrero, the running back for San Francisco, who's going to take the pretty much every rep that they have since I forget who they added somebody recently to back him up.
Yeah, they the practice squad.
I forget who it was.
Sincere. This is his first name, Sincere. I forgot his last name, but they signed him off practice squad, and he is the backup, I believe.
There you go. Well, yeah, he's Isaac Guerrero is going to get every opportunity after Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason both got put on IR. So I definitely like that pickup. Not necessarily something that's going to do too much for Kevin this week, but for as the playoffs go on, that guy will definitely be a great running back to have on your team. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers rolling with Drew Lock, as you said earlier, not necessarily a quarterback you would get excited for, but in a 2 QB league, I would certainly prefer to have him over many of the other options that are out there. And Kevin leaving a defense on bye because he doesn't have another defense. Denver's been great, so I get it why he wouldn't want to drop them. I think he's playing off of the projected points in his favor, and considering that maybe he can afford to just roll out a team with a defense on a bye, and he might be right. Yeah, he might be right there. His team is looking good. Kevin's got a bye pretty much guaranteed unless many things go wrong. He would have to lose here. He would need both your team and Tina's team to win to put him in third place. So there's a lot in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers' favor. So that's why his lineup looks the way it looks. He's got a strong team. Barkley's going to go ham over a terrible Carolina team.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And Mighty Morphin Power Rangers will 100% be my pick for this matchup.
I mean, the only thing I think that you would have to look at, and I don't know, I mean, he is going for the career, so I think that, he's going for a record right now, so I think they may leave him in, but I'm just wondering if he just goes so hog wild. I think if he gets the record, they'll probably, I don't know if it would be this weekend he would get the record, but I mean, is there a situation where you could see them pull him out of the game if he's just like, they're just crushing? But I guess it's going to be interesting to see if they pull him out and rest him, if it's just like so lopsided, or they just keep playing him because he's going for that record.
I think he definitely wants to lead the league in yards, and he's going to get that rushing title this season if he keeps up the good work and stays healthy. I think maybe his health would be the only reason why they would consider leaving him on the bench in the second half for a little while, depending on how tough Carolina plays. If the opposing team isn't really fighting too hard, then there's no harm in keeping him out there, but we'll see. So Chris, who would your pick be here between CD's Nuts and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
I think the pick is pretty clear. I think Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a stronger team here, and I actually think Kevin's going to cruise to a win.
All right.
Unless catastrophe happens, which, hey, anything can happen, but I think Kevin's got this locked up.
I do think so too.
I think it's a lock. So, all right. So that is our official pick for that matchup, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Let's move on to our third matchup here. It takes two in a tango, sitting in the last place there versus Manja Magic, who has really run out of magic this season. Manja Magic has been plagued by injuries and bye weeks and all kinds of just the luck of the dice not going her way, unfortunately. I think she started off the season pretty hot. She had great expectations. And unfortunately, the magic has fizzled a little bit, just a little bit.
It hasn't worked out for Manja Magic this year. She came in with with that big hot name of the title.
Had a lot of swagger.
Right. She's new to this league and came in with a great 2023 season on her back, but this year did not work out in that way, at least not in this league. So she ended up leaving Goff on her bench on Thursday. Goff had a really good game, 36 points.
Yeah.
She's rolling with Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. So we'll see how it goes. But, in essence, this game, unfortunately, doesn't have a ton to play for other than draft spots and
Right.
to eye up what kind of player you would potentially want to keep for next season.
Yeah, and just looking at that, I mean, if you were, let's just talk about that super quick before we move on. If you were Manja Magic, and let's even look at Jeremy's takes two to tango, Jerry's team.
Sure.
Who would your keeper be if you were the owner of each of these teams right now? Who do you think would be the person you'd be feeling good about keeping?
So that's a great question. I think that's probably one of the most interesting things to analyze here, since the matchup is between two teams that are not going to make the playoffs. On Manja Magic's side, I think looking through her lineup, she has a couple of different options that at least I
Yeah,
would end up going with. I'm looking at, for keeper consideration, we end up taking the giving up the round of the next year's draft where we drafted that player in, and if it's a keeper that you've kept for multiple years, each year you pay a higher round price for that player.
right.
So she took, just going over what her draft was for 2024, she took Jahmyr Gibbs in round 2. So if she were, that definitely would be a candidate that I would consider keeping.
Yeah,
She would be giving up a round 2 draft pick for Jahmyr Gibbs, who next year will likely be going in round 1, I would expect, because he's been
yeah,
really, really
I
good.
would think so. He's going to be in a top pick.
She took Jared Goff in round 4.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another guy who's having,
Yep.
a fantastic season.
An
And
absolute bonker season, and from fantasy, just great.
yes, yeah, his draft capital is going up, and next season will be much higher than a round 4
Mhm.
draft pick. So that's another great value that she finds on her team. And then the rookie wide receiver is the third guy that I'd be looking at, Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah,
on Jacksonville. He had a really, really great start to the season. Maybe these last few weeks haven't been as outstanding, but overall a solid first year as a rookie wide receiver, and she took him in round 10. So
yeah.
that definitely provides tons of value for her to be able to add other great players in those early rounds.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, and I don't know if I'd be a keeper, but I do like the pickup this year that she picked up Kate Otten, and I like that pick because he has been him and Baker have had a really solid connection as far as tight ends go. I don't know if I would put him as my keeper, but definitely somebody next year in the draft. I think his draft capital has gone way up as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Kate Otten has 100% played himself. I think this is a contract year for him.
Yeah, I think so.
He's definitely going to be a starting tight end, hopefully for Tampa Bay, so that we can continue to see that connection with Baker. But certainly a guy to keep in mind for next season as well.
Yeah. Now, what about the other side? Let's look at it takes two to tango. Jerry's gonna, more than likely he's gonna stay in last place. I mean, it's not foregone. I mean, because somebody, other people could slide and he could get some wins going and get out because once again, there's still some games left. But looking at him, I mean, who would you consider to be his keeper? I know he drafted. I think one of the big mistakes, and I'll just call it out, is I think one of the bigger mistakes here from Jerry is that he drafted a lot of Miami players. I know we all know he's a big fan of Miami, and it's tough when you're a fan of a team, you get excited, but you got to look at it from a very objective point of view. And while some of these Miami players are great to have, I mean, obviously the Tua Hill stack is great, smart move. I think he went a little too Miami heavy, and that's probably and more likely was a big detriment to his season. However, he does have some really good players on this team, and so looking at who might be a potential for keeper for him, who do you think would be your top 3?
So his team is a little more challenging. Like you said, Miami hasn't had a great season, and Tyreek Hill, for example, was his keeper.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up now just to make sure we're
sure,
giving accurate info. That was his round
absolutely.
1 pick. He gave up round 1 to keep Tyreek Hill. Would we do that again next year? That's the toughest question.
Right, it is. It's tough.
Yeah. Is he worth it? Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
I mean, he's still
this
probably going to be
season,
a first round draft pick next year, I would think. Like, I mean, I still think he's going in round 1 in most drafts.
in most drafts, he certainly will. I would say he's the kind of player that if you don't keep as your keeper, you're likely not going to get him.
Correct.
So I wouldn't blame anyone for keeping him again next year. He might have a fantastic year, and maybe this season was just a fluke.
Yeah.
But There are other players on his team that I would take into consideration. Jordan Love, maybe one of the strongest players that he has on his team. Jordan Love, he
Yeah.
acquired him via trade. I was looking him up to see what round he went in, and it seems that Jordan Love had gone in. Let me confirm this right here, round 3. So
Okay.
it would cost Jerry a round 3 draft pick for the 2025 season if you were to choose to keep Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really good value, especially in a
Yeah.
2 QB league.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that. I mean, I look at it too. I think Jordan Love would be somebody I would definitely eyeball keep. And I mean, I think if I was his team, I think Tyreek Hill would probably be the person I would hang on to. Um, Barring any, crazy end of season, really bad injuries. But uh either way, Tyreek Hill is a big offensive weapon. And you make a great point that if you're not keeping him, he's definitely going. Tua, I think, I don't think I wouldn't have him as I think if I had between Tua and Jordan Love as a keeper, I would go with Love. I think the potential and the upside is more in Love's favor on that one for sure. Running backs and all that, I don't really see there's any running backs here. Kelsey, he's got. I wouldn't consider Kelsey keeper. I mean, I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm even surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kelsey maybe call it a season after this year. That's just my personal feelings on it. He's dealt with a lot of his own back injuries, and quite frankly, you can see it now. Age injuries, it's starting to creep up on the guy. He's played in this league long enough. Um, we all know the guy's a competitor, but I can't see him lasting much longer in the NFL. Yeah, I think looking at it, I think probably either Hill or Jordan Love for me.
That would be where I would go. I'm not sure exactly which one, but those definitely would be the two options I'd be looking at.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. All right, so listen, I think just looking at this matchup, just to put our picks in officially, I'm going to go with Manja Magic. I think she's going to get a win here. I mean, her team's pretty stacked. I think she's got the better advantage here from that point of view. So that's who I'm going to pick for this matchup to officially win, which once again will help her in draft if she can move up a spot or two.
That will be my pick as well. Manja Magic for the win in week 14.
All right, and there we go. There you got it, guys. All right, so let's move on here. Looking at the League of Extraordinarily Mediocre People, let's go over to Absolute Trash, which is 5-8, sitting in the 11th spot, and it's over Johnny, 5-8, number 9. Ken and Josh, both teams, high hopes. Ken had a pretty good draft. I remember drafting. He was super excited on the draft. He made some really great pickups. Josh also had a really good draft and started off the season pretty hot, but I think both teams, once again, injuries, bye weeks, just really hampered a lot of their season this year. And unfortunately for them, this is where they are at number 9 and number 11. And, both sitting at 5-8 and pretty much playing for draft position at this point with both these teams. But, a lot of good players, though, on both sides. I mean, one of Ken's best pickups, I'd say, for him this year was the Kenneth Walker pickup, for sure. Kenneth Walker, having a great season. I know he's right now, I think he's questionable. He's got the calf. I guess he's uncertain right now. But for most of the season, he's been pretty good. And I also like this pickup, the Giants rookie, Tracy. Tyrone Tracy Jr. If there's been any bright spots about the New York Giants, it's really been him. I mean, that kid has been great. He looks great. I like him. He's got great hands. Good. He doubles as a good running back and a receiver. And I like it. I think that was a really good pickup by Ken, during the season here. And then just looking over at Josh's team, I mean, Alvin Kamara had a really nice season this year. He's got Justin Jefferson rolling. Brock Purdy for Josh hasn't really been the quarterback I think he wanted him to be as far as this year's gone. He's been inconsistent most of this year. Although I do like Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy was a good pickup by him. And obviously the running back in Cincinnati, Chase Brown. What a season he's been having. So Josh has actually had a really good running back combo here going, but unfortunately just hasn't been enough for him. And right now, he still has Baltimore defense on bye. I'm sure he'll change that up potentially. unless he just doesn't care anymore. But I think Josh will play right to the end.
I'm sure he will. These two teams, yeah, they definitely fought hard. Were very competitive. Had the best name changes throughout the season.
Oh
Right
my
here,
God,
these two
kept it
guys.
entertaining. Kept it
Yeah,
entertaining.
for sure. Played the game to all the layers that you could possibly imagine. And they do have strong teams. The players that you mentioned, Judy as of late has been on fire. Chase Brown was a really, really great player to trade for,
Yeah,
and several other players also on Ken's team. So for this week per se, week 14, there isn't a ton that they're going to be playing for. However, the players that they get to analyze on their teams to keep are definitely worth mentioning. Ken Walker was a round 4 pick. That's
yeah,
definitely a guy that I would certainly consider keeping on my team. Tyron Tracy was a waiver wire ad. So
yeah.
that's a guy who's extremely cheap when it comes to
That
keepers consideration.
steal. That
Yeah,
might be one of the biggest steals of the year was getting Tyrone Trace on a waiver wire pickup, and just kid's been great. Hopefully, he keeps it up next season.
yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely tons of potential there. A couple of the players on the bench of note are Nico Collins, who's hurt Ken's team a bit while he was on
Yeah,
IR, but is now back and looks healthy. So that's another player I would consider keeping. And Jonathan Taylor on the other end hasn't had the monster season that we all hope for, but
no,
still a fantastic running back to consider for keepsake.
yeah. On Josh's side, real quick, I gotta say, there's definitely some players that stand out to me. I mean, Chase Brown is somebody I would definitely consider on my keeper list. And Justin Jefferson still is a guy that will definitely go in a first round for sure. We don't know. Obviously, the more than likely, JJ McCarthy will be the starting QB next year. I mean, I think Minnesota would be silly to not get him in the mix. I mean, they drafted him first overall. He had a year now to sit, learn, do the right things. They're doing the right thing here. And it just happens to be Darnold's really been really great for this team. And they put an unexpected season, I think, for Minnesota in that way. But you got to know that JJ McCarthy will start next season, barring any unforeseen things. But I think, and how that will benefit Justin Jefferson, I guess we'll see, but I still think he'll be a number one. So I think Josh has got some really good contenders here for keepers in this league. I mean, I'll even say it, even Alvin Kamara, as a guy's got an extended contract, he's played really well this season. Like, like a guy I think a lot of people had written off this year is like, okay, he's old, he's done. And I think he's kind of proved everybody wrong this year.
This was certainly a really, really good Alvin Kamara year, a round 6 pick. Should he be able to keep up that production, it's a steal to keep a running back of that caliber for a round 6 pick. But he's aging up there to the
Yeah,
point where we thought this season wouldn't be the way it
right.
ended up working out. So looking ahead of next year, I can definitely see how people would be a little hesitant to keep him. I was looking for Chase Brown to see where exactly he had gone in our draft to get that draft value
Right.
that's being given up, and I can't really find it at the moment. We'll try to get it later and mention it. Here it is, round 9.
Round 9 pick.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, round 9 would be the value that you'd be giving up in the 2025 season to be able to keep Chase Brown, and he benefited from Zach Moss
Yeah.
going on IR, so he ended up owning the backfield. At the time of the draft, it looked like it was going to be a 50-50 split. That's why his price was only a round 9 pick, but it's still super cheap to give up that.
But I mean, look at him on a year so far: 677 rushing yards, 6 rushing TDs, 237 reception yards. Like, this is definitely a guy that I think the Bengals could be happy about, saying that this is somebody that is going to be really good for them in the future. I think next
I think
season
so.
you're going to see him in a really good spot. So I think if you got him like that late, definitely somebody you want to consider maybe holding on to for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
All right.
all right. So for the sake of picks here,
Yeah.
Chris, which of these two teams do you think is going to come out on top in week 14?
Right. So I looking at the lineups here, I think I'm gonna go with it's over Johnny in this one. I mean, he is the projected winner, but I just feel like that I like the running back stack here in that way. I mean, I think, Kenneth Walker is kind of a maybe at this point, so we don't know if he's officially going to play. He's a little doubtful. I think Tyrone Tracy will probably have a good game, but he's really the only offensive weapon. It sounds like that's going to be on the Giants, especially if Neighbors isn't playing. But I do like the running backs here. So, and I do, Jerry Jeudy, and I don't know, I like it. And I'm gonna go with Josh. I'm going with it's over Johnny.
All right, great pick. I'm going to pick the same.
Okay.
I think, it's over Johnny will get the win.
All right, there you go. All right, let's move on here to our second and last matchup here. All out of love, your team, my friend, 6 and 7, sitting in 7th place versus number 2, Tina. Suck my dicka at 9 and 4. Both of you points on the boards already. Tina with a really low projection right now. So as projections go, and I don't know if Tina's had a chance to go in yet and update team and all that, but as far as projections go, my friend, you are projected to absolutely destroy Tina's team this week.
Yeah, it definitely is looking good for my team. Bye week bullshit.
Yeah.
Tina chiming in. Good morning, Tina.
Good
Bye
morning,
week
Tina.
bullshit. This week is a killer. Yeah, Tina is definitely hurting hard here because of the bye apocalypse that hit in week 14, where the giant players that she was lucky to get on her team, like Joey Mixon, Derrick Henry, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, all on a bye this week. Can't help
it's
her.
crazy. I mean, it's like her bench is a who's who of all starting guys who just just completely, this week 14 bye is not, stop NFL.
Yeah. I will say this though. Look at it this way. You got to look at the bright side. Week 14 is what allowed Tina. This is what happened. Week 14 is what allowed your team to be so strong for 13 weeks. Okay. That's how you locked in your playoff spot. Okay. The fact that you have all these players out in week 14 really doesn't hurt your team. This week didn't matter that much. Yeah, you have a chance still to get into a bye, but even if you don't make the bye, the real challenge begins next week in the playoffs, and that's when all these really
and that's where it's really going to matter. I mean, you're in the playoffs already, Tina, and that's what matters. You made it in. I know the bye week is obviously a cherry on top, but you're in the playoffs, and you've got this stack of players that have been killing teams all season long. So
yeah, and if you think about it, you made it in because all of these guys played every single week of those first 13 weeks. None of them had a bye in previous weeks. So that's kind of how you got to where you are. And I think it sucks to have so many players out in 1 week, but that's if you look at the other side of that, that's the reason why you clinch your playoff spot, or part of the reason, I should say. So congrats to Tina. I think this week does not look great for Ditka's team. But I don't think there's too much that we're playing for here anyway.
So Pablo, if you win this week, which let's go with based on how things are going, you more than likely will get the win. A win and some help, and you're in.
No. Yeah, well, yes, but see, the amount of help I need is I need Obi-Wan Mahomes' team to lose. And I need the point difference between my team and his to be over 200. And that's not realistic. I would have to score 200 points and he score 0. So that's not going to happen. That's just impossible. So that's why, it's not really within reach for me, but that's okay. It's been a great season despite my team not making the playoffs. So
yeah.
We got another comment here from Kevin Vaglio chiming in saying, okay, has the 23rd best matchup as a receiver against corners this week. I'm not sure what player he was referring to, but I'm sure he was somebody.
Maybe DK.
Just now.
Maybe DK. Maybe he means DK.
Yes, that's right, because it was through a YouTube comment, and that was the previous that was the previous comment we had there. So perfect. I like that.
Yeah. All right. So let's just look at this real quick. So, I mean, listen, I'm going to just make my pick now. I'm going to say all out of love is going to take this game. Looking at it, just because we've been playing this game a little bit, because Tina's got such a stack, who would be your pick for keeper on Tina's team? Because she's going to have quite, I think, a dilemma at the end of the season as to who is going to be her pick. her keeper. Who was her keeper this year? Do you have that?
Yeah, her keeper from this year should be listed there. Let's see. I think. Oh, you know what? I think her keeper might have been Travis Kelce. No, I'm mistaking that.
Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta is her keeper. Yes,
Yeah, Sam Laporta was her keeper.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is a good keeper. I mean, that was a good keeper from last season. However, when you look at who's on her bench, Mixon, Derrick Henry. I mean, I honestly, I feel like the pick is pretty clear in my eyes. If it were me, I would say Jalen Daniels would be my keeper for next season. That would be me.
So this it's really hard when your team is this good.
I know,
to be able to decide who your keeper is. But looking back at what the price tag is on each of these players, she drafted Jaden Daniels in round 1, so she'd be giving up a round 1 pick next season to keep Jaden Daniels. Derrick Henry was her round 2 draft pick. Joey Mixon was her round 4 draft pick, and Terry McLaurin was round 3. I would say, if it were me, my top 3 here would be Mixon, Henry, and Daniels. And
okay,
maybe I certainly can't argue against Daniels. He's been fantastic, and he likely will continue to be fantastic. The draft capital is the only reason why I would just think about it.
Right.
Consider one of those other 2 options.
That is a good. I didn't think about the draft capital side of that. I do like the Joe Mixon. I mean, and once again, Derrick Henry, another guy that a lot of people wrote off this year. Not thinking, I mean, I think he went late in a lot of drafts, as far as I know. I mean, even listen to a lot of the other fantasy shows. Like, that was a guy that was drafted pretty late in a lot of other fantasy drafts. I feel like that, he's been great. He's been great this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly has. So for sure, 100% guaranteed my pick is going to be my team here, all out of love.
Yeah.
Good luck to you, Tina, during the playoffs. For the record, I'm rooting for Tina's team to take the championship. Let's just say that that'll be my pick for champ on the season. It'll be Ditka's team, even though I don't think you get the win this week, my friend.
Right. Okay. And just for the record, Puka Nacua was your keeper from last year.
Yes, Puka was my keeper from last year. Didn't really work out to be that great of a season. He went on IR for a bit, and was part of the reason why I didn't make the playoffs. I'm not going to pin it all on Puka, of course, or I'm not going to pin it on my choice of keeping Puka. But there were a sum of things that just didn't work out for my team, and Nacua would definitely be a guy that I would consider keeping again, just because the price tag on him was very, very low as a rookie last year. I took him very, very late. So this year I would pay a higher price to keep him again, but it still would be very, very cheap to keep Puka.
I already know who on your team I would keep if it were me.
Who would you be going with?
I think I'd be definitely keeping David Montgomery would be my keeper. Looking at your team would probably be my pick, or he'd definitely be in my top 3.
So Montgomery went in round 6 for me. So that would be a round 6 price. And I definitely would still consider him.
He would be in my top 3 for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So there you got it. We both are going with Pablo's team, all out of love for this matchup. Now let's look at the last matchup we've got.
All right. And the last matchup we got here in our LOEMP league, as Chris was mentioning, and the last matchup we're going to look up here is Obi-Wan Mahomes. There we go, Chris. All right, we're
accidentally back. Kicked us out of the studio, or kicked myself out of the studio. Either way, here we go. Obi-Wan Mahomes. That's what happens when you hit the wrong back button on the browser. So, all right, here we go. Obi-Wan Mahomes versus Keith's cool team, number 6 versus number 4, and in a very close projected matchup here. Look at this, 144 to 141 in the projections. And Wayne's team, Obi-Wan Mahomes sitting in number 6, and Keith sitting in the number 4. Now, Keith has locked up a playoff spot. Obviously playing for a bye this week, because a win here would be great, especially if I lose and Tina's team leaves. That could then put him into a spot for a bye week.
It can. I think in his case, similar to what we were talking about earlier with my team,
Points.
the point difference is too great. So even if he does get a win and the other teams lose ahead of him, he'll still not be able to make up that giant gap that he has on points. So I think in this case, these two teams are really not playing for much other than for seed to see who they play against next week when the playoffs begin.
And Wayne needs to win to lock up the spot, because he hasn't clinched yet. So he needs to win to clinch. Because
I think
a
if he
loss,
loses though,
he may still clinch even with a loss.
his point difference over my team is 200 points. So
okay, all right.
So he's not gonna worry this week.
All right.
They're both looking ahead, preparing themselves for the playoffs. Basically, it's a nice practice week. Look at it as a preseason matchup for them. And good luck to both of these teams. Really, really good teams. Suffered some losses there with players like on Keith's team. We mentioned McCaffrey went on IR. Also has Olave on IR, who potentially has a chance to come back sometime during the playoffs. We'll see. On the other side of the bracket here, on Obi-Wan Mahomes' team, he lost Stephon Diggs earlier during the season. So these teams definitely have suffered some losses throughout the year, but are still strong contenders and have great chances to make a good playoff run this 2024 season.
Yeah. I like this. I mean, this is a really good matchup. I think this will just be fun to watch. I mean, both teams here have some really great players. Looking at it, I mean, Patty Mahomes, versus Geno Smith. We've been talking all season about Patrick Mahomes. I mean, listen, the Chiefs have been, a team that just wins, but from fantasy, he hasn't been great all season. Although the last few games he's been coming on a bit. I mean, it was wild to see that they almost lost in Vegas last week. I mean, that was a 1-point game. Talk about an unexpected outcome of that one. I mean, everybody thought they were just going to steamroll over Vegas, and to only be a 1-point difference and a low scoring game at that, not even crazy, just been interesting, but I mean, hey, that's what good teams do. They find ways to win. I also like, some of the matchups here. We've got, Keenan Allen, who's been on the Bears, and the Bears have actually looked pretty, even though it's the Bears, the last couple games, not so bad. Jalen Waddle, D-Hop has been good. Drake London. I mean, a lot of good players on both sides. So I mean, just for to put in the pick here so we can move on. I think Keith's cool team may actually win this one, even though he's not projected.
All right. It's definitely a close one. Again, lots of great players. I don't think there's a lot going on, so that's why I'm not looking too deeply into it. Obi-Wan Mahomes picked up Noah Gray, who's the tight end on Kansas City. So I think that's a great pickup right there. But I'll go with Keith's cool team as well.
Yeah. All right, let's do that. Keith's cool team. All right, guys. So here we go. That wraps up our matchups in the LOEMP League. I'll just recap really quick for anybody keeping track at home. In that last matchup there, Obi-Wan Mahomes versus Keith's cool team. We have both gone with Keith's cool team. And All Out of Love versus Suck My Dicka. We have both gone with All Out of Love. And Absolute Trash versus It's Over Johnny. We have both gone with It's Over Johnny. And It Takes Two at a Tango versus Manja Magic. We have both gone with it Manja Magic. And in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers versus CD's Nuts, we have both gone with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And in the only split for today's matchups, Yoda Best Team versus Shardy McDennis. I, of course, have chosen my team, Yoda Best Team. And Pablo has gone with Shardy McDennis, which, objectively is the right call, but can't go against my team, man.
I hear you.
I can't do it.
That.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, real quick here, let's do this before we move on. Just want to call out and say thanks again really quick to one of our sponsors here that we've been dealing with here on the show, Dave and Great. They're a sponsor, too, of also my other show here on Radio Garden State called Song Swap Showdown. And that's Cardiac Attack Coffee, guys. And Cardiac Attack Coffee, these guys are great. They're totally local owned right here in New Jersey. Great coffee company, as I'm trying to bring up the website to show all you guys, but really just great guys. And it's a great product too. This coffee brand is all about getting your heart pumping. Strong flavor packed single origin coffee that comes in 3 varieties. You can get your You can get your strong coffee, you can get your mild, and you get your medium coffee. And they've got it all right through their website over at cardiacattackcoffee.com. So you can also get it whole bean and ground. Their dark roast is Guatemalan, their medium roast is Costa Rican, and their light roast is Ethiopia. Plus, they have variety packs too if you want to give it a try. They also do cold brew as well. And you want to check that out. They got some cold brew packs of all different flavors, regular, flavored, all that. And on top of that, I always talk about this, their merch game is on point, guys. If you love a combo of like punk and skate and surf, all action stuff, great merch here. And also awesome mugs and glassware as well. So listen, check out cardiacattackcoffee.com. Go there now. Pablo actually went ahead and picked himself up some cardiac attack coffee, huh? That's what's fueling you today, man. That's got your heart pumping.
Absolutely. Yes, for 100% sure. That's what I've been drinking all morning. Delicious Guatemalan coffee. Very, very tasty. Very great company to support. Very generous with their stickers too. I got a bunch of great stickers from them.
Right on.
So absolutely something that you guys should all check out.
Yeah, so listen, guys, if you want to get your hands on some cardiac attack coffee, you can get it mailed right to your home. Just head over to cardiacattackcoffee.com and use the code Song Swap Showdown at checkout for 15% off your order on whatever you got in your cart. If you're just going there to pick up a shirt, a mug, we highly recommend the coffee. So once again, you can get whatever you want, or if you want to try all three, get that sampler pack. It's a great way to see which one you might like better, so that way you can get a bigger pack. Anyway, Song Swap Showdown, put that in and check out. Visit Cardiac Attack Coffee. Get your heart pumping. Let's go, everybody. Thank you so much. Yes, Christmas present for Andrew. There you go. Makes great stocking stuffers, great Christmas presents. You can do a coffee with the mug or whatever, a shirt. You do the whole combo thing. There you go. Cardiacattackcoffee.com. All right, and we got a real quick question coming in on Yahoo here. Who for my wide receiver 2 and RB2 and flex? Oh wow, this is a big one. We got Justin Jefferson as wide receiver 1, Kyron at RB1. Mm-hmm. My bench: Juwan Jennings, Xavier Worthy, Myers, Mooney, Westbrook, Ikine, Walker, and then a questionable. Oh, Charbonnet or Breece Hall. Breece Hall.
Doubtful.
Yeah. Which I don't know. It's not trending like he's going to be playing. Breece Hall.
Yeah, it looks like he might miss this week. So, yeah. All right. So, Juan, you're looking for us to give you a hand here, and everybody else, please chime in on the comments. Yeah. We want to fill out then your RB2, your wide receiver 2, and then a flex spot. So we're looking to select at least one wide receiver and one running back from this list, as well as a third player. I would definitely rule Hall out since I don't think he plays.
Yeah.
I would. I don't know about you, but for running back, I would definitely go with Walker.
Yeah.
And since you have Charbonnet, should Walker get should it be announced that he doesn't play, then Charbonnet's your guy. But if Walker starts, he's in my lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would play Westbrook. I mean, I'm starting him, and my brother's actually chiming in with F it, play Westbrook.
right, Kev. That's what I'm talking about. So, it's hard to guarantee touchdowns, but this guy's definitely
he's been hot. He's been hot. That's all. You just gotta go. I gotta ride the wave. I mean, I'll probably fizzle out at some point, but right now he's hot.
So to me, it'd be Walker and Westbrook, and then as far as that flex spot, what do you think, Chris? Worthy, Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney?
I don't think Jacoby Myers can be trusted considering what's going on I mean, it's Vegas. They're just so hot and cold. I mean, Carolina, although I don't know. I mean, I think I might go with Xavier. I think I would go with Worthy. I think I would start him. I think I'd go with Worthy. That's kind of where I'm feeling at the moment. I'd have to do a gut check on that as it gets closer, but
all right.
My brother is saying Mooney over Worthy, though. So there you go. I don't know if that helps, but Pablo, which way would you go?
I'm not sure. I think Worthy is really good. Mooney's matchup is fantastic this week against Minnesota,
Yeah.
but his last few weeks haven't been great. So it's really a coin flip to me. I think it's super close, but I might go Worthy as well.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. And then he's got one more question. So Juan, thank you again so much, Juan Pena, for checking in and asking these questions. Really appreciate you, bud. His question is: should I pick up Travis Homer off waivers since Rashawn Johnson is out and Swift is questionable? Still got Mattison, Hunt, Trey Tucker, or Kraft on the waiver wire.
Okay.
I have Mattison on my team, and right now I have actually have 3 like Raiders running backs, and I'm kind of like I don't know who the hell to start at the moment, which we'll go through when we go through the Dirt League. I'm kind of like on the fence of who's gonna play in that, but um Travis Homer, I'm not sure about that. Unless
So
the guy unless there's any San Fran running backs available, but it doesn't sound like it.
I get the consideration for Homer on Chicago being
Yeah.
that the other running backs might not play, and Homer may be able to get a start. And in some of our leagues he's also owned, so
Yeah.
I definitely would consider picking up Homer if you can. But if you have some of these other options, it's also certainly something I would consider. uh it depends on who you have on your team. Since Roshan is out this week and Swift is questionable, I
Yeah.
would say if I was the manager of Roshan or Swift, I would definitely look at adding Homer to my team. But if
Mhm.
not, I wouldn't really necessarily make it a priority.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, my brother's coming in with saying, I guess Homer if both RBs are out. Kraft already played.
There you
So
go.
there you go. All right. So Juan, I hope that helped out. thanks for checking in. Thanks for asking the questions. Appreciate it. And Tina also weighing in on there too. She's saying Walker or Westbrook.
That's it.
That's right. All right. So let's go through this. Let's go through the Dirt League real quick there. And once again, guys, just for everybody who's on Radio Garden State, want to thank you guys for listening. We do wrap up the show at 11:30. More than likely, we might be going over a little bit. So if we do go over, you want to bounce over to Radio Garden State Facebook page, and you can finish watching the live stream there, just in case we do go over a bit. So just want to give that disclaimer right now. So, all right. So let's do this. Let me get the dirt up for some reason. Here I go. Let's go. And boom. All right. The Dirt League.
Dirt Invitational.
Currently, the Dirt Invitational. So let's look at this. Currently, 5 out of the 6 playoff spots are locked. Bodie McBoatface in number 1. Uruguay, your team, my friend. Congrats, locking up number 2. Moose Knuckles at number 3. My team, Killer Beers, at number 4. Sneak it in. My brother's team, Swift Kick of Love, at 5. And right now, the last one, currently being held in by Sharkbait, but not a lock, but he's in that spot at number in the 6th spot at 6 and 7. Primo de los Matador, though, at number 7 with 5 and 8. Manja at 5 and 8. Show me your TDs at 9. Sicilians at 10. Ginger Ninja at 3 and 10, who is out of last place, by the way, guys, has moved up a spot. So if the season ended today, BMF would be the proud owner of the poop trophy if the season ended today, because he's in the 12th spot.
That's right. We do go through the consolation bracket to determine that poop trophy winner. But this league is red hot. I absolutely love where this league is right now, because
gosh, it is. It's fun.
We're looking at 2 halves of the standings here. One for the actual championship run, but the other one is just as exciting, I think, for the race to avoid that poop trophy.
Yeah.
So looking at the standings real quick, as you went through all the teams, I think those top 6 are locked, even though Yahoo doesn't consider Sharkbait as mathematically qualified yet. He has a 300-point gap between Primo de los Matador and 360 above Manja.
Right.
So that's not reasonable to
right. So Sharkbait could lose this week and punch a ticket.
he's gonna
Yeah.
punch that ticket no matter what happens with his matchup. Unfortunately for Prima de los Matador and Manja, they are not going to make it no matter how well they do this week. But there's plenty to play for ahead of the playoffs that are red hot for both the top and the bottom of this league. So at the top of the league, I want to point out Bodie McBoatface has clinched a bye week. Her team has been outstanding, only one loss on the season.
Outstanding season.
Has confirmed the number 1 seed and will not be playing next week, as she'll be waiting for a rival in week 16 and has already qualified into the top 4 of the 2024 season here. The other bye spot is up for grabs between Moose Knuckles and Uruguay, currently sitting in second place with a point spread that is in my favor by over 100 points. So in order for Moose Knuckles to be able to get a bye, which he certainly can do, he'll need a win and he'll need Uruguay to lose, but all within the realm of possibility. So that second bye spot is certainly up for grabs there. And then as far as the rest of those top 6 teams go, Sharkbait is locked at number 6 from my perspective. I don't think that changes no matter what.
Right.
And if you think about it, for the playoffs, the 6th seed will be playing the 3rd seed. Okay. So, and that 3rd seed is also going to be locked between Uruguay and Moose Knuckles. We were just talking about how Moose Knuckles can get into number 2. So Sharkbait's rival will come out of Moose Knuckles or Uruguay. There's no other alternative there.
No alternative.
Which means we have one game confirmed for week 15. In the playoffs, we will have a matchup of brotherly love between the Killer Beers and a Swift Kick of Love, the number 4 and the number 5 seed. Those teams are locked into the 4th and 5th position. At most, they could swap, but they'll still be both in 4th and 5th and will be playing each other next week.
And another Brother Bowl matchup.
yeah, that's a great way to start the playoffs, to have some nice sibling rivalry to be able to look at and talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's going on at the top. Anything else catches your eye at the moment here?
I mean, I think that's kind of it. I mean, I think you painted the picture pretty well. Just want to say real quick, I mean, shout out to the champ, former champ, Manja, who had a great season last year. We joke around about the Manja Magic thing, but it was very real last year. She went on an extraordinary run. She also didn't start off great and then got red hot and won it all. Unfortunately, this year didn't exactly pan out the way she wanted, and right now sitting in the 8th spot at 5-8. But want to just say once again, congratulations to last year's champ, and we're looking at a new champ this year. I mean, any of these 6 teams could be the champ, and just because Bodie is sitting at first place at 12-1 doesn't necessarily mean Bodie's going to be the champ here.
No, absolutely. Yeah, there's certainly a lot to play for. But yeah, that was a good run last season, Manja. Didn't work out necessarily quite as well this year, but that's okay. That's fantasy football for you.
Fantasy football.
Every year can't be a winner. But the bottom half, I do want to, before we get into the matchups, I do want to briefly break that down. The bottom half is red hot. Red hot. We're looking currently at 2, 3, and 10 teams at the bottom who would be earning due to how we break down our consolation bracket. Those bottom 2 teams get a bye.
Yeah.
In our consolation bracket, the way we work this out for everybody listening is, as each team continues to lose within the consolation playoffs, they advance.
Right.
And the last team to lose every game is awarded the trophy, the third trophy. So a win in the consolation playoff bracket essentially gets you out of the toilet bowl, right? Flushes you out of the toilet bowl. And those bottom two teams don't get the opportunity to play in week 15 because they get a bye. So they don't get a chance to win in week 15 and try to get themselves out of that race. And those 2 teams are currently BMF and Ginger Ninja. The Sicilians, Show Me Your Touchdowns, Manja and Prima Los Matador, all fighting for their chances to get out of the race here as well. And I think for game of the week here, there's one matchup that's in the consolation side that is red hot, and I think that's the one we should feature to
Let's
go
do it.
into first. We're looking at Ginger Ninja, who's currently in 11th place with the 3-10 record, playing
Yep.
against Show Me Your Touchdowns, who is currently where's Chris in 9th place with 4-9,
Yep.
and has a point difference of 35 points over Ginger Ninja.
Right.
So the reason why I think this is such a great matchup is because the team who loses here,
Mm-hmm.
it has high chances of getting a bye in the consolation bracket and not getting a chance to play next week. So Ginger Ninja with a win and a little bit of help with the point spread could potentially get herself out of that bottom 2 spot and
Right.
give her a better chance to not get that shit trophy that Tina is well putting here.
Yeah.
She's definitely been a good sport
She
to
has. Yeah.
hold out for a season and put her name on the trophy. Doesn't want to see that thing again.
No.
And I can't blame you. Nobody does. So certainly a lot to play for, even though some of these teams are not necessarily fighting for the championship side of the bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's take a look at that. So let's go right in. Let's start with the Ginger Ninja matchup versus my brother, who's sitting in 5th place. But why this is an important game for Ginger Ninja. So let's take a look at that. Let's start there. All right. So Ginger Ninja, and we've been talking about this all season. It's wild because Heather's team has got a lot of great players. It is stacked just for all the reasons. Just was never able to. Some of the matchups that she lost were very, very close and very tight. And unfortunately, she had too many of those in a row. But still looking at her team today is like, it's just, this is a team most people would like say want to have a lot of these players here. Looking at this matchup right now, she's playing against my brother's team, who's projected to lose. There's a big gap here. She's at 149.75 to his 108. My brother had Reed go the other night, and Jaden Reed, and just one target, 0 points in his flex spot there. She's got some good players, man. I mean, Justin Herbert, Lamb McConkey. She's got D-Hop, Jacobs, who did play, put up 24 points already. My brother's got Breece Hall still in his lineup at the moment, projected to not play, listed as doubtful at the moment. I mean, just looking at this real quick, I mean, how are you feeling? I mean, I don't think we need to spend too much time on this, but I think Ginger Ninja is actually in a cruise to a victory here.
I think so too. I think that really gives her the upper hand. That a swift kick of love here isn't necessarily playing for a ton. Like we said,
Yeah,
no matter what happens, he's looking at a playoff match next week.
he's in.
And his opponent is locked in. He's got everything locked up. He currently has Breece Hall, who's not projected to play in his lineup, so he might be changing that. But I suggest that you should, Kev. I would say, just for all fairness of the integrity of the lead, give Ginger Ninja a run for her money, make her earn it, although she's well on her way to get a win here. Kevin chimed in here early. I don't know if you got a chance to put up that comment. Jaden Reed, after putting up a donut on his team, is no longer in his circle of trust.
Out.
Yeah, that's a tough one to try. And that's important, actually, because if you think about it, Jalen Reed would have been a guy that you would have probably thought about to put into your team during the playoffs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so, now going into playoffs, that's a guy you're probably going to stick on your bench. I mean, more than likely at this point, I mean, being out of circle of trust, I mean, just becomes bench fodder.
Yeah. It's a tough one. You're going to have to, I would leave him on the bench next week, wait and see what he does, and hope he does better to consider him for a further week.
Right. He's got to win his spot back.
Yeah. But well, aside from that, yeah, absolutely, Kev. Yep. And aside from that, yeah, the matchup here looks well in Ginger Ninja's favor. For as far as picks go, that will be my pick. Heather's got a really, really good team.
She does.
I'm super surprised that the season worked out the way it did.
I really am too.
But for the sake of this matchup, I'm definitely selecting Ginger Ninja. and I think her chances are high that she won't be taking that trophy home. But you never know.
You
You
never
never
know.
know.
Nope, you
You got
never
to
know.
fight until the last minute.
That's right. That's right. So now with that being said, let's look at the next matchup that could determine the poop trophy is the Sicilians versus Show Me Your TD. So number 10 versus number 9, both at 4-9. And look at this matchup though, man. Right now, the projections are almost a dead heat. 118.50 to 118.26. And now you just outlined at the top why this is an important game for Ginger Ninja and why this is an important game for Show Me Your TDs. And for Tina too. So this is a fight to not get that poop trophy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that because Ginger Ninja is so well on her way to get a win, not that that's a guarantee,
No,
but
no.
that the outcome here, the team who ends up losing this matchup here between the Sicilians and Show Me Your Touchdowns is going to be exposed to end up in the bottom 2 and not get a chance to play next week. So
Right.
that's why this matchup here is so important, and it's super super close as well. Like you said, the projection has them currently listed at 118 apiece.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fantastic. I love how close this is and how exciting it is to
Yeah.
watch these two teams. Tina's team has a linebacker on a bye, so I'm
Yep.
sure we'll get to that later during the week, and but ahead of tomorrow's game or Monday night, to be able to add another guy to give her a better chance to come out with a win here. But a super super close matchup. Some great players that we've talked about already on both sides. Which of these two teams, Chris, would you be selecting as your pick for this week's matchup here?
I am actually going to choose the Sicilians in this one. I think Tina has just enough firepower here to get a win. I like Justin Jefferson. I like Russell Wilson. I like Kenneth Walker. Hopefully, Kenneth Walker does play, which will be a big help to her. Chuba last week was not good, but he's been good. And of course, we talked about Jonnu Smith. I think those are all great players, not to take anything away from the other side, but I feel like it's enough to put Tina over the top.
There
I
you
mean, I
go.
know there's the Joe Burrow factor on the other side, but I don't know if that's going to necessarily be enough.
Yeah, he's gonna need a lot of help. Chris has got a decent team, but he's gonna need his players to show up. He can't really afford to get too many duds. He already had his Detroit defense put up only 3 points, not doing him too much of a favor.
I had the
But
same
in
problem.
this matchup, I'm actually gonna pick Show Me Your Touchdowns
Okay.
for the win here. This is the current Poop Trophy owner and proudly displaying it at home. I do think, though, that his team is good enough to put up a solid fight here. And yep, there it is. There it is,
There it is. For
everybody.
those of you watching the video, there it is. Proudly
Yeah,
displaying that dirt poop trophy.
yeah. And I'm sure he's very anxious to get that out of the house. And I think his team is good enough that he might be able to get a win here and avoid that first week bye in the consolation bracket.
All righty. Well, there you go, guys. Those are our picks for that matchup there. I've gone with the Sicilians, and Pablo has chosen Show Me Your Touchdowns. Show Me Your TDs. All right. Let's get through this because I know, once again, guys, just as a disclaimer, for those of you listening on Radio Garden State, we'll probably be running out of time on the radio side, but you may want to, if you want to keep listening or watching, switch over to the Radio Garden State Facebook page. Also, you can check us out on YouTube as well, on my YouTube channel, Chris Vagalo. But I would say head over to the Radio Garden State Facebook page. Let's show some Radio Garden State some love, and I really appreciate everybody for hanging out with us on the air. We just had so much to talk about today, and we weren't able to squeeze it all in a 90 minutes on the air, but definitely come hang out with us, as we will still be continuing to stream over on the Radio Garden State Facebook channel. All right, let's head over to this matchup just because it's the one right underneath it, right? So let's go for it. Shark Bait at 6-7 in the 6th spot, and BMF, who is right now in last place at 3-10. How important of this is a game to BMF? So Ruben.
Well, it's very, very, very important. Ruben is in a pickle. He's active, though. That's the one thing I want to point out, that Ruben. So last week, Moose Knuckles was sharing with us. BMF is out in the Grand Canyon at the moment. I'm not sure actually if he's back home or not, but I imagine that he's still at the Grand Canyon. He's a big boater. He's a big kayaker.
Yeah.
So I imagined he probably caught a spot, found an eddy where he had good reception and was
Right.
able to add a few players to his fantasy team and fix his lineup, because I did see him plug in a couple holes and drop a couple
Okay.
players that were
Good.
out.
Good.
So he's certainly active and putting up a fight. I'm sure that he does not want to take that poop trophy home.
No.
Uh, the proud owner of a championship not that long ago, I forget if it was 2 or 3 years ago.
I think it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, Ruben, the champ from a previous season, certainly does not want to take that poop trophy home. Now, for him to not get a bye, he's in last place, so he's got a lot that's challenging. He's going to need a win. He's going to need Ginger Ninja to lose, and he's going to need to make up a little bit of a point difference there between the Sicilians or Show Me Your Touchdown. So there's a lot for him to be able to avoid that week 15 bye, but it's still possible. And he's got a nice matchup here with Sharkbait that is not that far off, only a 9-point spread in the projection right now.
Yeah, and I do like his chances this week, because we did talk about Saquon Barkley going into Carolina. I mean, Saquon Barkley has more than likely, barring any injuries, will probably have a day. He'll have himself a day in Carolina. Could be big points there. And I like too one of his IDP players, one of his has Nixon over in the cornerback, Keyshawn Nixon. 10.5 points, big for a IDP. I don't know. I look on both sides. I mean, a lot of good players. I do feel like even the projections are not in BMF's favor. I actually feel like BMF may win this one. I feel like he might have just enough to get it done.
Yeah. He has a good team. I do like the team quite a lot. The projections are not in his favor at the moment, but his team is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Sharkbait has a great team. I do think that
100%. Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Sharkbait, and he's rolling with Kirk Cousins. You got Tyreek Hill, Christian Watson, who already went 11 points there. Another a couple other standout players here. We talked about Chase Brown. Sam Darnold's been having himself a season. I think rolling with Cincy D going into Dallas is not a bad idea. So a lot of great things to like about Sharkbait's team for sure. I just feel like BMF may actually steal one this week. I think he's going to steal one.
It's very possible. So Sharkbait isn't really playing for anything. There's nothing at all that could happen this week that's going to modify his outcome. He's just waiting for either Moose Knuckles or Uruguay to know who he plays against next week. So there's really nothing that he can do. But his team is strong, and he's got a really, really good chance to make a good playoff run this year. BMF is the one who's got tons to play for here. And I think I'm still going to pick Sharkbait, even though Ruben's team is the one that desperately needs to win here. And he has the weapons to do it.
Right.
But for the sake of picks, I think I'm still going to go with Sharkbait.
All right. So there you go. We're going to be split then, because I am going to go with BMF on this one. I feel like he's got a really good shot this week at getting a win and stealing a game here. So that's going to be my pick. And of course, Pablo's going with Sharkbait over there. All right. And once again, let's do this. And in the last 60 seconds here of Radio Garden State listeners, once again, guys, we're going to be going over. So if you can, bounce over to Radio Garden State's Facebook channel. If you want to keep watching the live stream, Pablo and I are over there live streaming. You can watch video of this and all that. So we encourage any listeners, if you want to keep going and keep hearing us finish out the show, head over to Radio Garden State's Facebook page. And if you can't, well, then we thank you guys for listening to Radio Garden State. Keep it tuned there all day. Lots of great music. And I will be broadcasting live from Ghost Talk Brewery today at 4 p.m. from 4 to 6 p.m. And then we'll be doing a live broadcast with the Porchistas as well at Ghost Talk Brewing, guys. Come on down. It's going to be a great time. Come hang out. Come have fun. And once again, that's going to be Radio Garden State broadcasting live. I'll be there. My Cam will be there too. We'll be on the air from 4 to 6, and then also broadcasting the Porchistas live performance live. Thanks, guys, for listening. Bounce over to Facebook now. All right, guys, and for everybody else on the feed here, make sure you stay locked, because we are still going here. So let's go on to our next matchup. So let's take it from the top. Those were our bottom, the three at the bottom, how I'm looking at my screen. let's go to the top. I am playing the Killer, my team, the Killer Beers. Shout out to Jimmy G. Just saw him Thursday night. Tear it up at Starland Ballroom with Chrome Eggs and of course Body Count, Lionheart. Great show at Starland Ballroom. Excellent show, and had a great time watching Jimmy, who, by the way, went out on stage with one broken rib. Even stayed was in the crowd doing Jimmy stuff. Talking about Murphy's Law, by the way, guys. So if you don't know the band, we're talking about the one and only Murphy's Law. Great show. But I'm playing Bodie McBoatface this week. First place in a game that she could probably care less about. She doesn't need to even show up at this game. For me, I'd like to get the win, even though I guess it doesn't really matter much as far as because I'm in. It'd be more or less me winning to retain my fourth place spot or swapping with my brother at this point. So we're both in, but still, I want to win. I'd like to, be the 12-2. I'd like to be the 2 in the Bodie McBoatface record.
I hear you. I think the matchup is interesting here. Like you said, Bodie doesn't really have anything to play for. Your team is locked up, but you are playing for seed with your brother.
Yeah.
And the only reason that's important is the main reason that's important is we do have playoff reseeding in our league, as many of you have out there as well. So the bottom seed, the lowest seed, is the team who will be playing against Bodie McBoatface.
Correct.
In week 16. So I don't know if that matters too much. It's hard to pick an opponent or a rival. Sometimes the number one seed, had a great season early on, but might not be so hot right now. I'm not saying that's Bodie McBoatface.
No, but we've seen
scenario.
it happen.
Yeah. So, but just to kind of call out what the difference would be here.
Sure.
Your team is playing for seed here to keep the 4th spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what I'm playing for. Now, I was talking before, for anybody that was listening early, one of my conundrums right now is you'll see that my RB2 spot is empty. And this is what I've been dealing with, guys. And so a little advice might be good. Obviously, you see I left Jalen Williams on my bench, 210.5 points, which would have been nice. But here's where I'm at. I have Amir Abdullah from Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got Madison also on my bench. Now, I did pick up Abdullah because he's been filling in for Madison over the last few weeks. I also have Tank Bigsby as well on my bench. Mostert is not really an option for me. There's no sense in starting him, but this is where I'm at. Who do I put in that spot? Madison seems to be questionable at the moment still. And Amir Abdullah, I guess, is healthy enough to play, but still being projected low. Do I just stick Amir Abdullah in there? Or do you think this is going to be a game time decision? Or do I just buck all of it and go right with Tank Bigsby, even though ETN is back, starting? I mean, not a huge decision to make, but, I guess if you were me, where would you go?
It's certainly a tough one. These are all players that are hard to predict, especially Abdullah. If he's not going to get the starting job,
right?
It's really tough to roll him out on a Vegas team that is going to likely be playing from behind in Tampa Bay. The game script is not in his favor. Mostert being questionable, another guy that I would maybe try to avoid just to not necessarily lean in on him too much. Again, fortunately for your team, it's not that much.
Right, it's not a do or die situation
week.
here.
Yeah, but
for the competitiveness of it, because maybe it's something I'm going to have to deal with again in the future. So, or do absolutely. I drop them and try to pick up someone on waiver?
Yeah, I was actually just eyeing up waiver right now to see who's out there for this week. I don't see a ton of great options. No. But they're in this league, not that I want to give too much away.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this league, Jalen Warren is a guy who's not owned, and he's currently on waiver because he was recently dropped. So it wouldn't be somebody that you would be able to pick up and plug into your lineup this week, but maybe an option to consider for future. Yeah, exactly, for future weeks.
Right. And so if you were to drop someone from my team, who might you drop on my bench? Who might be a good contender to say drop for a Jalen Warren out of curiosity? Pure
So
pure
in
speculation.
pure speculation here, I want to say that if Abdullah doesn't really get a chance to start again, he's not worth rostering. So
Yeah.
you're really holding on to him as a handcuff.
Yeah.
And during these times, it's tough to see if a team can afford to
Right.
hold that stuff. The other guy I would take into consideration is Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's a guy who hasn't been able to play in a
Yeah, it
month.
really hasn't been. Good player,
So
but it's really been tough. He's been hurt.
yeah, he is questionable. So he's eyeing up a return sometime soon, and he would provide value during the playoffs should he be able to play.
Yeah.
But that's another guy's that's where the tough decision would come into play for me.
Yeah.
Whether or not I want to hold a bench spot for him with hopes that he would come back. Just because if he doesn't come back, then you're better off taking the guy that you can plug in next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, just some food for thought here. And if anybody else is in a similar situation, hopefully this conversation was a benefit to you. But anybody in the peanut gallery out there, I'd love to hear your suggestion as well. So yeah, right now I'm probably gonna lean towards. It sounds like Amir Abdullah is gonna be the guy starting tomorrow. I think it seems like Madison's gonna be game time decision. But yeah, wondering like, who do I drop in the effort of maybe just getting like a Jalen Warren on my team now or somebody like that. So
Good stuff. Good
yeah,
stuff.
all
So
right,
all right. So for the sake of picks here,
yeah.
which
For the
way
sake
are,
of
are we
picks,
going?
so I'm gonna obviously pick my own team for this one. I feel like I've got a good shot of winning. Pam's team's she's got a lot of guys on bye this week. She doesn't need to win. I mean, Pam's a very competitive player anyway, so she's gonna obviously give me her. She'll go in. She'll probably patch up some of these guys are on bye when she gets to a point. So she doesn't need to win, but she's a competitor, and I'm sure she wants to protect that 12-1 record. But I feel like I got a good shot. There's a chink in the armor.
You do have a shot. I think I'm going to pick your team as well, but yeah, Pam will definitely give you a good run for your money. She did pick up
She always
a
will.
backup tight end a couple days ago, and he's on her bench, Will Disley. So I'm sure she'll be swapping him in for Mark Andrews, who's on a bye. So good luck to you both, but I think Killer Beers will take the win here. Shout out
Yeah.
to Murphy's Law again.
Yep. Shout out to Murphy's Law. My brother's saying, yeah, Warren can't be picked up to the 11th. He goes, I hate that he should be I hate that he should be available this week if he hasn't played yet. I mean, I know, I get it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that he's on bye for X amount of days so that everybody gets a chance to see that he was dropped.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was too close to his game day, so now he's not going to be able to play to be picked up until waivers run next week.
Yep. All right, so let's go over to our next matchup in this league. Let's go over to your team, my friend. Uruguay versus Manja. You're in second place. Manja's in eighth. Once again, not really a game that means much for you. But for Manja, playing for, position here. I mean, she's sitting at 5-8. A win here would probably help her, I think, in the standings a little bit. For sure. Would obviously keep her out of consolation, which right now she is out of the consolation, but want to keep winning, want to keep getting those wins. So it's more about record and position at this point.
Yeah. Mancha's not really playing for much this week, she's had a tough season as we were talking about earlier. Her projection is very, very low, so I don't think there's too much to look into in this one. On my end, I've been very, very lucky. My team's been doing great, and right now I'm playing for that second spot, hoping to stay in second place if I get a win here and go into the top 4 of the season, locking in a bye for week 15. So that's what we're looking at here. My team's been good, no complaints.
Yeah.
Hope everybody stays healthy.
Yeah,
And
I mean, listen, man, you're definitely a very formidable opponent in this league for sure. So I would be scared to have to play you. You got a great stack, but I mean, just for the purposes of picks here, I of course will be picking your team. I think this is a foregone conclusion. Unfortunately, once again the former champ is not making the cut this year.
yeah, no, not this season.
Not this
But
season.
yeah, my pick will be Uruguay as well. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but
Yeah.
yeah. Good
All
luck to
right.
Manja for next week.
All right, so let's go over to another one here. We got Moose Knuckles sitting in the third spot at Primo de los Matadors sitting in the number 7 spot. Looking at this matchup once again, not with John. Once again, he's got a spot. He's locked up as far as playoffs go. But Mikey, a win here, probably still not going to really help him get into the playoffs. I think that 6th spot, as you said, is just sort of like it's Yahoo will count it after this week, and that'll be that.
Yeah, not too much to play for here. Moose Knuckles has an opportunity to get a win and hope for a Uruguay loss to get that bye for himself. But it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But he's currently on pace to get a win this week, projected for 150 over Primo de los Matadors 136. Looking through the lineup, some really solid options on both sides. Moose Knuckles, a very, very tough contender who will teams a really hard time during the playoffs. Primo de los Matador with a really, really good team as well.
Yeah.
And is going to be a strong opponent in that consolation bracket. So look out, everybody. This guy's got a good team.
He does. He's really put together a good team. Unfortunately, though, this week I don't think will be his week. So I think John is I think Moose Knuckles is going to take the win.
I think so too. One point that I want to highlight on Mikey's team, he's been rostering Braylon Allen, the rookie running back on the Jets, all season. And this week he's going to get his first start since Breece Hall seems to be doubtful and likely not to play. So we'll see what the kid can do. I'm sure he's going to be eager and anxious to show off. And that who knows? That might be the reason why Mikey might be able to squeak out a win this week.
Hey, you never know. I mean, he could have a really good game. So, I guess we will see.
Yeah, my pick here will be Moose Knuckles, just for the record.
Yeah. All right, great. So I got that locked in. Both of us going with Moose Knuckles. And let's look at that was it, actually. Okay. So yeah, we've got everybody because we're back to Ginger Ninja, Swift Kick of Love. So let's review, guys. So looking at this, we started Ginger Ninja and Swift Kick of Love. We labeled as our touchdown talk game of the week, and we have both chosen Ginger Ninja to come out on top on that one. And the Sicilians versus Show Me Your TDs, your touchdowns. I have gone with the Sicilians, while Pablo has chosen Show Me Your TDs. In Sharkbait versus BMF, I went with BMF, and Pablo went with Sharkbait. In the Killer Beers versus Bodie McBoatface matchup, we have both gone with my team, the Killer Beers. In Uruguay versus Manja, we both gone with Manja. And in Moose Knuckles versus Primo de los Matador, we have both gone with Moose Knuckles. And there you have it, everybody. Those are our picks for this week's matchups in our fantasy football leagues, the Dirt Invitational and the League of Extraordinarily Mediocre People, LOEMP League. If you want to follow along with these leagues, they're on Yahoo. They are public, so you can go on if you're at all interested to see where any of these matchups line up, or before we go through the show next week. Feel free to follow us over there. Of course, we'll be back live next week here on Saturday, 10 a.m. Playoffs start. So think the action's really heating up. That'll be all next week. We'll be putting in our playoff picks for sure. Who's going to win? It's a win or go home type of scenario. So let's see how that winds up, shakes up after this week. Very exciting times going into our playoff week next week into touchdown talk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good luck to all you out there as well. It all comes down to this. For those of you who are still fighting for a playoff spot, go give them hell. This is your week. Good luck to everybody in our leagues as well.
For sure.
May those best fantasy teams win. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And good luck to you tomorrow on Sunday with all these football games.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, we appreciate you guys hanging out and listening to us and chilling. One more quick thing before we wrap it up. Once again, quick reminder, if you guys want to see me, I'll be down at Ghost Talk Brewing today, this Saturday. Going there right after this. I'll be there at 4 o'clock, broadcasting live on Radio Garden State. The Porchistas will be playing down there at Ghost Talk Brewing, and we'll be broadcasting that live also on Radio Garden State. So you can actually listen to that live on Radio Garden State. over on the Odyssey app, the TuneIn app, or directly on RadioGardenState.com. That will be audio only, guys. There won't be any video for that. So, but tune in, and hey, if you're in the area, stop in, Ghost Talk Brewing, say hey, grab a brew, get a ripper across the street, come back over at Ruts Hut. We're going to be hanging out there, having a good time. Mike Cam will be there too, and a bunch of other people. So this will be a good time for sure. All right, last bit of business here before we wrap it up. As we do each and every week, it's become a tradition here on Touchdown Talk to play us out with a great New Jersey band. So let's do this one. Here is Jersey Calling with Backseat Driver. So check this one out, and we will see you guys next week here, Saturday, 10 a.m. for another live Touchdown Talk. Good luck, everybody. Good luck. Hopefully you punch your ticket into the playoffs this week. All right, see you guys.
For your broken back, carrying a purse like it meant something for all to see. And you've gone frail and you're slightly hunched, choking on your lingering smoker's lungs. And I'm still cowering in the backseat on every car ride. I used to lie to you. I used to lie to myself too. And the highways of New Jersey, they don't lead south anymore. At best I'll just head west, cause I can't stay on the fucking shore. Cause I bleed out every time, I see you. But I can't remember all the times I turned my cheek. And now you're surprised by my tone when I speak, or that I speak at all. And all of a sudden now you're a creep. You might not recover from this injury, but you've left me bleeding out in the backseat on every car ride. I used to lie to you. Lie to myself too. And the highways of New Jersey, they don't lead south anymore. At best I'll just head west, cause I can't stand the fucking shore. Cause I bleed out every time, I see you. I used to lie to you. I used to lie. I used to lie to you. I used to lie to myself too. The highways of New Jersey, they don't lead south anymore. At best